Hello and welcome everybody to this multi-part series on building a robot using Microsoft Robotics. What? Microsoft is robotics too? Well, it turns out yes, as we will see. So if you didn't know about it, now is the time to edify yourselves. Microsoft has built the Microsoft Robotics Developer Studio, also known as MRDS or simply RDS for short. And before we begin, let me share a small intro with you. Here's a definition from Microsoft itself, which reads as, Microsoft Robotics Developer Studio or RDS provides an integrated .NET development environment for designing, executing, and debugging highly scalable, concurrent, distributed robotics applications. RDS facilitates dealing with hard software challenges present in robotics such as coordination, observability, configuration, deployment, and reusability. In addition to a tools and runtime environment, RDS comes with a large set of samples and tutorials for getting robotics enthusiasts and professionals start writing applications straight away. Alright, so in this multi-part series, I will cover the MRDS and its components in greater detail, and we'll also work our way through the samples and then exploit the RDS for writing a custom robotic application. Finally, we'll build a project where a robot will be able to exhibit autonomous exploration and behavior using artificial intelligence. So, without any further ado, let's dive straight in. Here's a brief outline of the initial agenda for this tutorial series. So in this video series, we'll start with the introduction to MRDS, followed by the installation and setup, and then while discussing where is what, we'll have a more in-depth overview of the environment. We'll then create a simple service and also discuss the notion of a service in the context of MRDS. And then we'll talk about the visual simulation environment or VSE, which is like one of the most important aspects of the environment or MRDS because it not only provides us with a very efficient simulation environment to realize our robotic implementations, but also saves us the hassles of building a hardware robot just to test our applications in the first place. So we'll cover this in a greater detail later in the video series. And then we'll create an Explorer robot and run it using the VSE, followed by more advanced concepts. So in the more advanced concepts, we'll look at understanding the components and the underlying architecture of the environment. We'll then talk about DSS, which is Decentralized Software Services, CCR, which is Concurrency and Coordination Runtime. Then we'll look at the role of manifests and how to edit and create manifest files using the manifest editor. Then we'll talk in a more greater detail about the visual simulation environment and how to customize it as per your needs. Then we'll look at building orchestration services for your own robotics hardware. So what are we going to cover in this video? Installation and setup. So we'll download and install MRDS and also look at the prerequisites for our system configuration to have the MRDS function properly. We'll then look at the setup and we'll build all the code samples before using the code samples supplied with RDS. And then we'll look at how we can run a robot using the visual simulation environment. So let's begin. Alright, so in order to download the MRDS software, let's go to the Internet Explorer and type Microsoft Robotics download or something similar. So here we can see the first link itself reads download Microsoft Robotics Developer Studio. So let's go ahead and click on that. And here we have the page for download. On the page, we can see that the text reads, Microsoft Robotics Developer Studio 4 is a freely available .NET-based programming environment for building robotics applications. We can actually check the system requirements over here, and so it's compatible with Windows 7 and above. So if you have Windows 8 or Windows 10, it should work fine. On my system, so I'll just click on download here, and but I've already downloaded the dump file. So I don't need to go ahead and do the download again. However, I must mention over here that you would require Visual Studio 2010 or above to be able to run MRDS properly. So the development environment actually requires Visual Studio 2010 or above. I am running a Visual Studio 2015 CTP or Community Edition on my machine. So here you can see that I've already got the MRDS installed, so that's why it's prompting for removing or repairing it. But I'm just gonna cancel this wizard, and yeah, I want to cancel it. So now I can show you that I've already installed it, and on the start menu here I can find in all the applications installed the folder for Microsoft Robotics Developer Studio. It's must be up somewhere. Yep, there it is. So here we have to first run the build all samples batch file, which will actually build all the samples that accompany the software. So let's just go ahead and build that first before proceeding. Shouldn't take a while on a fast machine, just a couple of seconds or maybe to a minute, depending on your system's configuration or load. So here we see that the process is completed, and there were 0 errors. So that's a good sign. Alright, so let's now have a short look at the components installed in the directory. So let's go back to the start menu and to the MRDS folder. Yeah, there it is. So I'll just click on it. And here we see that there are a couple of services. We see DSS command prompt 64-bit. There's a manifest editor. There are a couple of services, and we have a run DSS node shortcut and a couple of environment options over here. But I would like to point out to a simple simulated robot service, and I'd like to show you by just clicking on it that it will spawn the visual simulation environment, and it's a very basic open floor. It's a wooden floor with a basic block robot. Let me just go ahead and click on it. So it'll just build the source code and start the other dependent services, and there we have it. So we see in the center there's a block robot which has some concealed wheels, and it's a very, very basic and simple setup. There's a dashboard which has the option to type in the address to connect to the robot in case your robot is in a simulation environment or it's a real hardware. So in my case, it's just the local host, so I'll just connect to it, which will connect to the robot in the VSE. And here we see that the motor is actually off right now. So there is a service which this has connected to, which is called Simulated Differential Drive Service. So when I double click that, it turns on the motor. And then I can choose drive and move the joystick representation here. And we can see that the robot actually moves as I move the joystick. And if I try to move it too hard or too quick, it can actually get rubbed against the wooden floor and topple down. So I can show you that. Let's just try being rigorous with it. There you go. So it's a very realistic, and it has got all the physics implemented to it. It runs the NVIDIA physics, but we'll see all of that in the upcoming videos. So for now, this is about it, and this was the installation and setup. In the next video, we'll be covering about creating a simple service, discussing the notion about services in the context of MRDS, and we'll look into every single component in greater detail. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Thank you for watching.